Hi, today we're going to be looking at the crafter block that was added to Minecraft recently in a snapshot. More specifically, we're going to look at how to use this block in order to automate dispenser crafting. And you might be asking, why dispensers? It requires a non-stackable item to craft, which makes it hard to craft a lot of them at once with just 36 inventory spaces. But also, why not? Behind me are all the iterations I went through in order to make a crafter that can output dispensers at 9,000 per hour or 2.5 a second, which is also known as hopper speed. I will show you the ones worth noting. This is a basic setup which lets you craft dispensers quickly, but it's very manual. So you fill the crafter with cobblestone, redstone, a bow, and then you give it an input of bows. And when you turn it on, it spams them out very quickly, but this is limited because once it runs out of cobblestone or redstone, it'll stop working and then you gotta manually fill it back up. There are, however, a few options for automatic solutions that I've come up with. First solution is a universal crafter, which is a crafter that can craft any item when you give it the recipe in the correct order. This barrel here at the left is the output, this barrel here is the top left slot, this is the top middle slot, and so on. When you turn it on, it'll fill the slots one at a time and craft it and then move on to the next one. This is very slow, but small and versatile. The next way I thought to tackle automation was to have a clock that pulses the containers the correct amount of times, one for each item. This observer clock will power this dropper 7 times, putting 7 cobblestone into this, and then it will power the bow and the redstone at the correct moment in order to fill it up with the dispenser recipe. The downside to this solution is in order to get the recipe correct, it has to wait for the previous item to fill up before the next one can. This slows it down drastically. I then made this design, which uses a buffer of items in the crafter, like a recipe. So go into the crafter, you can see there's a recipe for a dispenser, and this always will stay like this. It'll stay full, a bow, and redstone dust. It was at this point in the design process that I thought that the crafter could only use 5 faces because the 6th one had to go to output. So this design uses 5 faces. 3 for cobblestone, 1 for bows, and 1 for redstone. The limitation of this design is the speed that you can fill the crafter with cobblestone so it doesn't empty itself. Each craft takes 7 cobblestone, which means it takes 3 pulses in order to input the cobblestone required. Credit to Necrozen for this fast clock that runs the farm. The dropper can be powered every 2 ticks, meaning it takes 6 ticks to fill the crafter back up. So this is a 6-tick clock. Having this at 6 ticks instead of 4 slows it down, but much less than the last design. After some testing, it turns out that you can use all 6 faces. If the crafter tries to put its output into a dropper that is full, the item will be shot out, like this. This here is a rough draft of how the farm would look with all 6 faces being used. Changing it from 3 droppers for cobblestone to 4 means you can run the clock at a 4-tick speed. This is because it only takes 2 pulses to input 7 cobblestone from 4 droppers. When you turn the farm on, 2 things happen. This clock pulses on and off every other tick, and this clock pulses every 4 ticks. This clock puts the cobblestone in every other tick, 4 at a time. This clock crafts the dispenser, it puts in the bows, and then it puts in a redstone. Next, I needed a bow crafter that could keep up with the dispenser craft rate. So, using a crafter, disabling these slots, and putting these sticks here, and putting the string here, that makes a bow, and then when you turn it on, spam those items into it very quickly enough to keep up with the farm. This is what the final farm looks like. It's just like that one over there, just less rough. The farm is 9 by 8 by 7. There are some key differences between this and that though. When you turn it on, it will first pulse 4 cobblestone into the system. That is because there's a chance when you turn it off at the wrong time, and there will be items missing, and eventually over time that will break itself. The input for the farm is as follows. Cobblestone, 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 redstone, sticks, sticks, string, and string. The reason some of the chests are smaller is simply the input below does not require as many items as these ones do below. Also to this final design, I added that bow crafter that I showed you earlier. It just pulses these sticks, sticks, string, and string into this crafter, which will go into this barrel and then into this dropper here, which will go into the crafter. The bow crafter is powered down here. the same time the bow is put into the system, a new one is crafted. In order to keep the farm from breaking itself, there are these comparators installed, which will detect if the chests are empty, and if they are, it will turn on these redstone torches, which will turn this on, which will turn this, and then it'll push that away from that redstone dust, pulling this back, pulling this down, and that will stop the clock. This is the output system. The crafter is in here, it's facing towards this dropper, but since this dropper is full, it'll spit its items out into the air, and that will be caught by this hopper. It'll go along this line, into this dropper elevator, and end up in the chest here. Quick note, if you're building this farm facing south, you'll need to come down here, set this repeater to 2 ticks, come over here, take this piece of redstone, and set it to a repeater. This is the farm in action. If there's enough demand, I can make a tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye.